Alright, so today we have something requested by Bishop. This was done. This is the last request in the list. This is requested in November. Jesus, I'm backlogged on some of these. But this is Space Sharks, explained by an Australian. It's a major kill video, obviously. So, Space Sharks. Nothing like a loyalist Night Lord Legion. That's absolutely horrifying. Aside from the fact they have the absolute biggest space marine on record in their, no, these guys are mutated. They're something else. Here we go.
Hey guys and gal. Space Marine chapters in 40k often really like to lean on what their chapter is named after. Raven Guard have beaked helmets, Ultramarines are blue, and Imperial fists like fisting. But the Carcharodons, the Space Sharks, as I will now refer to them as to avoid the rage of greasy neckbeards who pull out their katanas and have a seizure every time.
Carcharodon! It's not Carcharodon! I hate, like, come on, man.
Time I botch up a name pronunciation. Take this to a whole nother level. They are literally sharks in every way, shape and form. Like, you think space wolves are wolves because they have sharp teeth and violate chihuahuas, but then you see these guys and you're like, wow, I'm going to ring the shark alarm now because that's a shark. We have shark alarms in Australia, not sure if that's a common thing.
No.
As I'm working hard on the upcoming homebrew
I live in the Midwest, there's no shark alarms, bro.
Adventures animated series, I don't have time to smash out lore videos at the moment, so thankfully Sleepy Sack, a new lore channel for Warhammer, has stepped in to help me with this.
Hi everyone, Sleepy Sack here. I would like to give a massive, long, hard thank you to Major Kill for giving me this awesome opportunity to work with him. I'm quite new to the whole YouTube game, but I've been into 40k for years. I finally decided it was time to start creating videos for everyone to watch, and hopefully enjoy.
Sleepy Sack has shown a really great ability to edit videos way better than I ever could, so I appreciate him lending his expertise to this video. Link to his channel will be in the comments and description below, so if you enjoy this video, you'll probably enjoy his other ones as well. Today we'll discuss who the Space Sharks are and what their deal is. We'll also talk about exactly why they are literal sharks in space, as well as what they've been up to.
And he's not joking about that. It's actually, sadly, frighteningly accurate.
Before we get started, do you long-term guys remember this video where a company reached out to me and wanted to do a collaboration with me on creating a novel, and I was like, sure, as long as I don't have to write the whole thing but I still make money, I'm in. Hence, I worked with over 40 of my fellow Warhammer nerds as well as Agreg to create Journeys Through Faladon, which now has a proper cover, website, and is soon to be published. It's got all the fun parts of a fantasy setting and it's a great read. Book will be live on Amazon on the 29th of July, so a couple days from now. So if you're looking for something new yet familiar, like our much beloved deceased Warhammer fantasy, then there you go. Let's get into it. 10,000 years before the Necrons were awakening, before the Tower were being uppity weebs, and before the Elder was so screwed that their final solution to all their problems was attempt to awaken the god of death, an oiled, muscly man with long flowing hair and extreme thrusting power lived on Earth. He spent his days frolicking with maidens, tending the fields, and preparing for galactic domination. Ha! You thought I was talking about Jesus for a second there, didn't you? Well, checkmate Christians, because I'm talking about the real Messiah, the God Emperor of mankind. This
Really, bruh?
man, the Big E, knew that the galaxy was a big scary place, and that nothing short of an army of demigod super soldiers would cut it. Hence, he created 20 legions of demigod super soldiers with an even more powerful super soldier leading each legion called a Primarch. Tell him what those legions did, Sleepy.
Well, if humanity was to survive against the endless threats posed by the forces of chaos, Xenos races, and even its own fragile nature, then a great deal of change was needed. With his new legions of super soldiers, the Emperor formulated a plan to bring errant worlds to Imperial compliance, uniting them all under a single banner. This was known as the Great Crusade, and was considered by many as the golden age of the Imperium. It acted as a catalyst which propelled humanity forwards, allowing them to unite and rebuild. Radical advancements in weapons technology were made, allowing the Space Marine legions to be equipped with the tools befitting the Emperor's finest. The Space Marine legions would form the core of the Emperor's mighty armies, supported by vast garrisons of Imperial Guard.
Imperial Guard didn't exist back then. It was the Imperial Army, which did include the Navy. They weren't split up.
These combined forces swept across the galaxy, conquering planet after planet, all under direct command of the Emperor himself. After achieving victory against the Orcs during the Ulnar Crusade, the Emperor returned to Terra to begin work on his next project. He bestowed the title of Imperial War Master upon Horus, the Primarch of the Lunar Wolves, giving him full command over the entirety of the Great Crusade, including all of his brother Primarchs and their vast legions of Space Marines.
This was going well until Horus thought it would be a good idea to sell his soul to the forces of hell and damn the galaxy to a war that mankind would never ever recover from. As a result of this, a lot of people died, including our glorious Hawkboy as well as the Bold Man himself. The Emperor ended up so disabled that he would make Stephen Hawking look like an Olympic pole vaulter as well. Guilliman, the only Primarch left who had any common sense, broke up the Space Marine legions into 1,000-man strong chapters to distribute the power of the Imperium more.
All except his original chapter, which had a technically phantom 11th chapter until pretty much it got called out and they became the size of the Emperor. Anyhow, moving on. So
that no one man would ever hold the power of a Space Marine Legion ever again. Over 10,000 years of dividing chapters, creating new successor ones, experimenting with gene seed, and warp spaghetti, we ended up with a few really weird chapters. Some of their weirdness can be explained by heresy, such as the Minotaurs being Iron Warrior successors, or the Blood Ravens being Thousand Sun successors. But
technically, no.
For the Space Sharks,
they are
it's
sons
still
of
a bit of a
Magnus.
mystery. The most prevalent theory is that Korax fucked a shark at some point, as the Space Sharks share a lot of similarities with the Raven Guard, such as being quiet little goth kids with black eyes. However, the fact that they are also sharks in power armor means that can't all be there is to it. The truth behind their origins is complicated and pretty irrelevant. It seems that they are exiled Raven Guard with gene seed mutations which make them sharky.
Okay, I was always under the impression that they were Night Lords, but Raven Guard would be another good fit for them. A possibility is they were part of the Raptor Project, because the Raptors... okay, so during the Great Crusade, when the Isfun 5 Dropside Massacre happened, the Raven Guard was almost wiped out. Corvus Corax goes back to Terra and asks the Emperor for basically the ability to use his gene labs to rapidly rebuild his legion, which he then started to do until the Alpha Legion started to introduce warp fuckery into the mix. Once that happened, everything went kind of downhill kind of fast.
They also seem to steal Night Lord's gene seed, hence making them somewhat hybrid, whilst also helping explain their intense love of blood and violence. To explain a space shark, we should first explain a shark. Sleepy Sack, take it away.
A shark is a formidable predator, capable of rousing fear and awe like no other creature in the sea. Sharks have evolved into swift and deadly killing machines, with mouths lined in multiple rows of serrated, spear-like teeth. When hunting, sharks specialize in lurking in the dark void of the ocean, ready to launch a vicious surprise attack on their prey, mercilessly tearing them to shreds with rows of razor-sharp teeth. When in large groups, sharks have been known to attack their prey in wild feeding frenzies, sometimes even attacking their own in the blood-crazed mayhem. The scent of freshly spilled blood only serves to amplify the intensity of their attacks.
That description is interchangeable with any shark, in space or not. Let me give you some examples. The space sharks reside as a roaming fleet in the deepest void of space, far from the Emperor's light, where they massacre threats to the Imperium many years before they would even be detected. They do not relish in ornaments or their ego, as they wear plain, ancient patchwork power armor. They rarely ever see the Imperium or the Mechanicus. They have to repair and maintain their own equipment, some of which is dated back to the Horus Heresy. To recruit, they have something known as the Red Teeth, where they basically rock up to an Imperial world, kidnap all their prisoners, and try and turn them into space sharks, with the success rate being super low and the mortality rate being super high.
And one of the things about that is the recruits for the Night Lords were all criminals.
But Major Kill, isn't turning criminals into Astartes a really bad idea?
Yes.
The Night Lords did this and they became massive douchebags.
Shut your stupid retard mouth, Timmy, before I put raw fish in your underpants and unleash the space sharks upon you. The Night Lords were the result of giving cringy edgelord teens in juvie godlike weapons and powers, with no discipline or stability. The space sharks are a result of the same type of kids being scared straight by giant disciplined sharks with cold dead eyes. The super high mortality rate of the initiates into the sharks also generally means none of the pathetic ones get through anyway. Then there's the Grey Teeth, which is when the space sharks encounter a forge world and give them super old technology and also other random shit floating around deep in the void of space in exchange for new guns and toys. With these new guns, or should I say projectile melee weapons, as the sharks prefer to be able to smell their enemies from 3 meters away as they blow them apart, the sharks do some serious damage. The space sharks were forgotten by the galaxy for thousands of years, as you know, there's a lot going on, so when a Space Marine chapter who was never chatty in the first place goes off in to live in Whoop Whoop, the Imperium wasn't too bothered with keeping track. Despite this, the space sharks would periodically return when the Imperium needed them to. Each time, no one was sure what side they were on, as they would arrive, massacre everyone with a tentacle or horn, and then return back to the darkness.
See, this isn't an uncommon thing either. What winds up happening in a lot of cases, Space Marines do not have to answer to pretty much anyone. Yeah, they would answer summons by the High Lords, but it's not something the High Lords can sit there and abuse that power. The Space Marines have a massive amount of autonomy to go and do as they please. So it's not uncommon for Space Marines to literally not be seen for hundreds of years and then show up.
They returned for Abaddon's 7th Black Crusade as the Blood Angels were getting clapped. The Space Sharks appeared out of nowhere and promptly embarrassed both the Khornite Berserkers as well as the Blood Angels, two groups known for their melee savagery, as the Space Sharks completely emascerated the anal cavities of the Black Legion. After the battle, the Space Sharks vanished and the Blood Angels had statues and honours erected for them, as no one knew who the Space Sharks were and just described it as if a large predatory beast had come and molested Abaddon. Now we all know the Night Lords like picking on weaker enemies and undefended worlds, because, you know, they're a bunch of pussies. Hence, they got the surprise of their life when they begun pillaging the Imperial world, which was also coincidentally the target of the Space Shark's next red teeth. Well, needless to say, in the animal kingdom, a shark would beat a bat, hence the Night Lords felt fear as they were massacred, their leader killed, and their pillage ruined.
When in combat, the Space Sharks love getting stuck into a fight. Out of all the Space Marine chapters, the Space Shark assaults are often the bloodiest. They carve their way through opponents wielding howling adamantium-toothed weaponry. Due to their shark-like characteristics, they prefer weapons lined with rotating teeth, such as chainswords and chain axes. Even bolter weapons are adapted to fit small rotary saws. These particular close combat weapons allow the Space Sharks to inflict a savage amount of bloodshed upon their enemies.
It's just impolite, honestly.
Now all good chapters are riddled with heresy, and the Space Sharks are no different. In the Void, there isn't a whole lot other than darkness and Tyranids. The Space Sharks destroyed countless splinter fleets, but knew they had to crush the nearby Genestealer cult to stop them from signalling out even more Tyranids. To do this, they called in an ancient favour from the Ashen Claws, a renegade chapter and enemy of the Imperium. With the favour called, they arrived at the heavily infested planet.
Now, a renegade chapter of Space Marines, they may not be Chaos Worshippers, they may not be heretics, but it creates problems. It creates a lot of problems when a chapter, for whatever reason, it's usually the Inquisition that does this to them. They'll just consider a chapter renegade for any number of reasons that are absolutely stupid or actually founded. But a renegade chapter will usually wind up going to chaos because survival.
Which was a shrine world, and told everyone they weren't allowed to pray anymore. Now telling a Genestealer infected shrine world that they aren't allowed to pray is like telling an American to wear a mask. It's just not going to go down peacefully. Fortunately for the Space Sharks, peace was never an option.
Baal Shah, captain of the Space Sharks' 3rd Company, led a vicious assault against the countless hordes of Genestealers, but his forces were quickly overrun, surrounded on all sides by the seemingly endless tide of rending claws. The streets began to run red with blood and violence, and the members of the third company began to fall, one by one. The space sharks made a desperate last stand inside the stone walls of a nearby cathedral. However, the battle had gone according to plan. Baal Shah called forth the fury of the first company, the veteran Terminator squads, supported by an ancient Contemptor pattern dreadnought. These heavily armoured warriors
Anytime I hear Contemptor pattern dreadnought, I automatically start thinking about Rylanor.
plunged into the fray, shredding apart the foul inhuman creatures with hails of bolter fire and lashes of close combat attacks. This powerful counterattack made short work of the Genestealers surrounding the cathedral. However, more and more swarmed the area by the minute.
Now, I'm not big on exterminatuses, but when an entire planet is full of Genestealers, it's really not the worst option. The space sharks are not one to ruin a good fight though, so they relish the opportunity to wreck some noobs. Eventually, so many Genestealers died so quickly that the Genestealer Patriarch emerged, and was put down just as quickly. Even with the Patriarch dead, there were still millions of angry Genestealers, hence it was only the arrival of the Ashen Claws was the four-armed freaks finally put down for good. By the time the Imperial forces arrived, the Ashen Claws and Space Sharks were long gone, and the planet was a smoking ruin full of dead Genestealers. Basically a fun melee version of an exterminatus. The Space Sharks are featured pretty heavily in recent times, as they distinguished themselves in the Badab War, an Imperial civil war between Astartes chapters. Help me out with this one, Sleepy.
The Space Sharks' first involvement in the Badab War began as their strike cruisers arrived to bolster the Loyalist cause against the civil uprising. They were initially unrecognised by many of the Loyalist forces, as their operational activities had always remained shrouded in mystery. They were eventually accepted into the battle lines after cautious investigations of their intentions. The Space Sharks were deployed to a territory controlled by the Mantis warriors in the Endymion cluster. Their mission was simple: the complete destruction of any planet within the cluster that was known to contain forces of Mantis warriors.
This doesn't go well for anybody on that side of the fence.
This brutal action drew the Mantis warriors out, forcing them to abandon their hit-and-run tactics and return to protect their worlds from further casualties. Another
I hope he goes into who that is, because good God.
notable contribution of the Space Sharks took place on Badab Primaris during the final battle of the Badab War. The planet was the homeworld of the renegade Astral Claws chapter. The powerful atomic and geothermal reactors which provided power to the colossal hive cities and planetary defense guns on Badab Primaris were identified as a prime target. The Space Sharks sent in incursion forces who successfully sabotaged the reactors. The resulting catastrophic explosion shook the very foundations of the planet. Shockwaves radiated through the tectonic plates, opening up vast chasms that engulfed entire sections of the city. Plumes of molten lava began to spew from the surface as the entire planet collapsed on itself. Following this, the Space Sharks fleet returned to the Endymion cluster to harvest new recruits to replace those that had fallen in the bloody conflicts. After receiving their payment in blood, they departed back into the darkness of the outer void.
Now you might be like, Major Kill, I'm still not convinced these guys are genuine sharks. Well, let me finally put your concerns to rest. Space Shark Librarians have two special unique abilities. One is called From the Depths, where they flood their enemy's mind with the sensation of drowning, and the other one is called Rending Maw, where they summon an avatar of a shark to kill their enemies.
Lovely!
As space sharks age, their skin turns grey and rubbery, like a shark. They also progressively get demented, being uptight, merciless, and eventually so antisocial that they basically just wander off by themselves and kill bad guys until they die. Like a shark. So, not as bad as becoming a PTSD-fueled vampire, nor a furry, but still not super high on the Idealio scale. The space sharks are also incredibly silent yet violent. The kind of guy to sneak up on you, and instead of breaking your neck or choking you, they instantly give away their element of surprise by performing a Mortal Kombat fatality on you that may or may not involve you getting bitten. Just like a shark.
Yes.
Their preferences for travelling through the void is also a reference to a shark travelling in deep waters. The only chapter I can think of that displays this level of ruthlessness and efficient hunting and killing are the Retributors from Astartes, which a lot of you guys drew comparisons with on my Retributors video. They wear unmarked basic armor, don't autistically screech before charging at the enemy, and they get shit done.
Yeah.
I made a point recently that having the Minotaurs on your bad side was one of the worst things that could happen to you in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, the
but I
Minotaurs will
genuinely
wreck you.
believe having the Space Sharks against you might be even worse. You'll see the Minotaurs coming from a mile off. You'll know exactly the moment that Asterion Malok shoves his spear up your ass. For the Space Sharks, you'll live in fear, never knowing when they will arrive until the day they're in front of you, for the split second before you're torn in half. Overall, another dope-ass chapter that shows why there are a lot of people that think loyalists are way cooler than traitors. And that does us for today, guys. The lore, origins, and sharkiness of the Space Sharks. Massive thank you to Sleepy Sack. Without him, this video would not be possible, as I literally don't have the time to make it with the animation in full swing. So him editing this video was a massive favour to me and you guys.
No problem, Major Kill. And I would just like to say thank you again for giving me this awesome opportunity to appear on the channel. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have too. Thank you.
Make sure you check him out, guys. The more people making lore videos equals more lore nerds. If you enjoyed the video, want to support the channel, and love boobs, then Patreon is the place to be. Only $1 gives you access to a perverted gold mine, and $10 gives you access to the Major Kill hentai calendar. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more animalistic content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one.
Well, it was worth it. Yeah, a whole boatload of Warhammer hentai. If that's your thing, go for it. I'll be putting the information down in the description below next to my own. The Space Sharks are one of those chapters that are like, so to meet certain requirements, I'm guessing that their people just stop coming up with decent backstories, because once you've named about 100 chapters, it gets kind of difficult to keep on going and doing that kind of stuff. Like the Celestial Lines are nothing more than as Ark said, somebody watched The Lion King and decided to make a Space Marine chapter based off of it. The Space Sharks, it's like, oh, Space Sharks, good, go. Marines Maleficent, the literal Marines of evil. So you see where they come from, and then somebody comes along later, like it could be later that day, later that week, and then decides to flesh that chapter out, and it just turns into this magnificent group of bastards. It's absolutely outstanding. In any case, I enjoyed this. This was fun. This is going to go in the Major Kill playlist, of which there is one now. If you go into the I don't know, my homepage down below, there's the playlist. There's a Major Kill playlist. There's a Russian Badger playlist. I made a whole bunch of playlists. In any case, that's it for me today. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. There's a Discord where you can go request things for reaction. Now, I'm doing one off the votes, and then I'm doing one that has been on there for a while. Which in this case, this one was there for a while. This was requested by Bishop, like I said, on November the 19th. If you'd like to support the channel, I have a Patreon down below. And that's it for me. I'll catch you guys next time.